Welcome to Big T Studio. This is a small fry studio, just mainly for my own personal enjoyment. Give you some background. I'm Travis, Big T. And why am I Big T? Well, look at me. I fill out a chair completely. Let's just say that I've got some girth on me. Hey, but thanks to Manjaro, I'm getting down. I want to talk about the things that interest me. As you can tell by the sound of my voice, I am obviously unabashedly Southern. Can't get away from it. I want to talk to you about music. I mean, that's really what I love. I've played guitar since I was, 10 years old. And I still suck at it, just so you know that I'm not that good. And hey, I don't care what anybody says. When you play music, play it for your own self-enjoyment. Don't play it for other people's satisfaction. You're never going to make everybody happy. Play music to make you happy. And that's where we come to this channel. I'm going to try to help people get started making music for cheap. I've got a few tricks I can show you. And I want to talk about things that you can do that are not going to break the bank and get the ball rolling. Because that's really what you have to do, is you have to start somewhere. So one of the first things I want to show is, don't be ashamed of using a cheap amp. Look what we had in the 1980s. We had the Mighty Gorilla. I know it's not really mighty, but it is named Gorilla, so you can imagine that it's big. Unfortunately, they're out of business today. Don't exist anymore. I don't even know who owns the trademark anymore. I found one of these for $14 on eBay, and I thought, I gotta have a little fun with this. So that's where this comes in. Little background on Gorilla and my story with Gorilla. In high school, 84, I was wrapping up my freshman year of high school. Of course, I'd been playing in a band, met some friends with similar music tastes, and we started jamming together, and we could pump out 4 songs. Oh, what a glorious racket it was. We could hit John Cougar's Hurt So Good. Yeah, John Cougar, a real man. A man's man. He hadn't been Mellencamped yet. But when you got a name like Cougar, you learn one of those songs. It's just rock and roll. Of course, started playing in the late 70s. One of the first things I wanted to learn after my dad forced me to learn country was AC/DC. And funny how learning country music and AC/DC went hand in hand when, years later, Angus Young admitted that You Shook Me All Night Long was a country lick. So that was a treat. And of course, and in that day, of course, some of the big bands were Van Halen, Ozzy Osbourne, Quiet Riot. Oh, I love me some rock and roll. My parents didn't let me listen to it that often. But when the neighbors brought their radio over and they turned it onto the rock station, I was hooked. And my guitar teacher, I happened to be listening at the door one day, and he was teaching somebody something called Crazy Train. Well, that was just unheard of. It was in the name, Crazy. Crazy Train. The only other time I'd heard crazy in a song was Brenda Lee, I think, was Crazy. But I heard that and I asked that guitar teacher, what was that? And he told me, and I said, you've got to teach me that. So that was another one we knocked out of the park, And finally, I went to a high school called the Hurricanes. Little town in East Tennessee. We were the Hurricanes, and I had to learn Rock You Like a Hurricane. How could you not? So we had 4 songs that we could just pump out, and God, what a racket. We were the original Guar. God, what awful racket. But no, seriously. Parents let us jam in basements, and we'd meet at each other's houses and we'd knock it out of the park. But my first guitar and amp came from a yard sale. The guitar would barely stay in tune, and of course the amp looked like it come from Kmart, Sears and Roebuck, something from the 1960s. It had a single knob on it. You turn the knob and it would click, it would come on, and you could either be quiet or you'd be loud. How loud? Loud enough for my parents to tell me over and over again, turn that thing down. Small houses. So, how did I get to this thing? At the end of freshman year, the band thing kind of stalled out, petered out. You can only take 4 songs so far and have some fun with friends. But during the summer, I mowed yards like crazy, which wasn't easy. In a small town, in a neighborhood with 10 other kids trying to get the same yards to mow to make $1 or $2 for spending money, it took nearly a whole summer to make $110 plus tax. That's right, $110 plus tax. Now, I found this thing on eBay for $12 and shipping $12, and I ended up spending about $30 to get it here. So I was curious. I was going to have some fun with this. This was unusual. Our town was small. We didn't have a guitar center. We didn't have a music store. We had this store that catered to the band kids at school, so the kids could rent their instruments. And of course, they were the only game in town. But amplifiers, not on your life. Guitars, not a chance. But pawn shops sometimes kept guitar strings, and a couple of them had a few old amps and a few old guitars. But there was a new one that opened up in 1984, I think it was. And they had these black shiny things that were new, I'm telling you. Why, I had to go get one. Let's look at this. It's already better than the amp I had. Look at it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 knobs. 5 knobs. It's got volume just like I had. But instead of it clicking and coming on, it had a button dedicated to just raw power. Man, this thing was a beast. It even had a master volume, so you could really change your sound. I guess if you wanted to say it back in the old days, this would have been called a preamp and then a master volume. Oh, it was just unreal. And of course, treble, middle, and bass. I wasn't a bass guitarist. I wanted to play searing leads. I wanted nothing but pure treble. But there was something magic about this. You may not know this, but it had a push button infrared line that went straight to Satan. It's right here. It says tube stack. Now, they shouldn't have put tube stack on here. What they're trying to imply is when you hit that button, you sound like the goodness that is a tube guitar amp. Tube amps went out of style. In the mid-70s, tube amps were expensive. They were heavy to lug around. Yamaha, Peavey, even Gibson, all the brands made solid state amps for a while. Of course, that luscious rock and roll sound straight from the bowels of Satan come from tube amps until somebody else experimented and got something better. But a tube stack, you wanted to rock a sound, they might as well have put, instead of tube stack at the bottom and the letters on, they should have put heaven at the bottom and hell at the top. Because trust me, in the 1980s, I learned all about how much of a Satan worshiper I was. Now, I've never been a Satan worshiper, but trust me, there's plenty of churches and church people and good Christian folks that told me I was worshiping Satan by playing satanic music. How do you make satanic music? You reach over and flick on the tone stack. That tube stack was a two-way strip, heaven or hell. There was no in between. And you had to do it just right and play clean music. If you gritted it up just a little bit, you were going to hell. Of course, people didn't like the fact I was playing AC/DC. That was a one-way trip to hell, because they even made a song praising Satan called Highway to Hell. Now, I grew up thinking people telling me stuff like that was crazy, because quite frankly, I understood the difference between fiction and reality. And I also understood about my own personal faith. You say, did I continue worshiping Satan? Well, according to Christian folks, I probably did, because I kept hitting that tube stack button over and over and over. Man, I loved the crunch. The crunch was where it was at. The thundering guitars. I went from 5 watts of raw power to 25. Look at it, it's even on the front, 25 watts. But I was smarter than the average bear. I looked at the back. The back of this thing said 50 watts. Are you kidding me? 50 watts of raw power! I could finally compete with the drummer. Yes, this magnificent beast would allow me to hear myself playing guitar and the drummer. I give you the Gorilla Amp.
And this is Travis with Big T Studios. Thanks for watching. Well, I hope I recorded that. Anyway, new strings.